Welcome to a Week 7 edition of SFL Game Day Wrap-Up along with Mike St. Green. I'm Cameron Irvine. This a week unlike any other. Mike, we had 8 games decided by 8 points or less. We had 7 games decided by 3 points or less. And all 7 of those games were decided in the final minute of action. There is no place to find parity like the SFL. Ball's in your court, NFL, week 1. What are you going to do, right? Because, you can't find us anywhere else. That was an indescribable weekend. I don't know how we're supposed to wrap this up in a bow like this.
Yeah, Cam, it was a great way to actually start the second half of this, what's been a great season 17 thus far. Second half getting kicked off, all these, tight, tense games, as rivalry games. And, it just was a great weekend to get this second half started. Teams positioning themselves for the playoffs, teams trying, fighting tooth and nail to, still be a part of that playoff conversation. And it turns out, man, week 7 has been one of the, best weeks we've had thus far this season.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It was super exciting, and we start where we finished. That was in Buffalo, where the Queen City Corsairs, in a stunner, go down to Carolina after going on an 18-play drive that gave Queen City the lead, and then their defense couldn't make the stop. Jet Zero was contained, bottled up, and Carolina just outplayed them all day, and they were not the heartbreak Skyhawks that we know and love today.
Yeah. Team Heartbreak today, Cam, turned into Team Step It Up. They went down late, as you mentioned. I think it was less than 42 seconds left in the game when Doug Spelling, the rookie wide receiver, caught that touchdown pass, and it was like, oh, same old Carolina. They're going to figure out a way to blow it, but Matt South stepped up big in this game. He had 394 yards plus a huge touchdown to Harish Prasad in this game in the third quarter. But he stepped up with a couple of big pass plays and brought these guys down into field goal range, and they managed to close it out. And as we mentioned, early in this game behind the scenes, I said, Cam, I think we're on upset watch. I didn't think we were on full upset alert, but I knew we were on upset watch just because the way the flow of the game was going. As you mentioned, Jet Zero was, he wasn't really having big Jet Zero type game, even though he ended up with 126 and a couple of touchdowns, but it was not the dominant Jet Zero, with 5-6 yards a carry that we're accustomed to seeing. And in turn, Carolina did just enough to stay ahead of these guys and put Queen City in an uncomfortable situation that they're not accustomed to, and they pulled it out in the end.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to believe sitting here and recapping that Carolina won that game. By the way, every team in the Atlantic won this week. So a big day for the Atlantic in terms of the division pecking order. And for all those playoff teams, of course, it would have been double jeopardy for Carolina if everybody would have won and they would have lost. But Carolina able to keep pace, survive, and hang around and stop their mini skid for Queen City. Now you got Florida next week. Maybe they were looking ahead, Mike, a little bit. I don't know, but that Florida game is big, and they could easily find themselves on a 2-game slide after next week the way that Florida's been playing. They beat St. Louis this week.
Yeah, well, I would hope that they were not looking ahead, Cam, as I've mentioned several times in the past. Any given sim day, anything could turn around in this league, and anybody could beat anybody. So I hope that their full concentration was on Carolina, as I believe it more than likely was. But it was just kudos to Carolina for stepping up this game and putting together a great game plan to keep Jet Zero under control, and it paid off in the end.
So many games that had thrilling finishes. It's going to be the theme of the whole show, so just buckle up, bear with us if we're being repetitive. But we head next to a battle of 2 division leaders as Los Angeles falls to Arizona 23-20 on Arizona's game-winning field goal. Now, there were a number of things. Take your pick at what was crazy about this game. The 4th and long conversion on a fullback go route for Tommy Rahman, almost circa week one, right? Tommy Rahman's like getting
Yeah.
all involved and everything. And then there was a play on 3rd and goal where Los Angeles had a deflected pass that Davius Reed caught, but at the goal line he was short and the clock was ticking down as LA was trying to complete this comeback. The only reason why they were in that position is because instead of going for 2, they faked an extra point and then failed to convert that. They end up getting the touchdown. They end up getting the 2-point conversion and tying the game. And then they end up with this late hit penalty that gets Arizona into field goal range, and that's a very controversial call across the league. I don't know how you feel about it, Mike, but in the end, Arizona, who has suffered their fair share of heartbreaks, they lost 2 games in a row on game-winning field goals as time expired against Queen City and Denver, and now they flip the script, and they do it against Los Angeles and take them down by 3.
And Cam, at the end of the day, this was a game, had a little bit of everything, especially, going down the stretch in fourth quarter. That's where most of my notes are on this game. I mean, it really wasn't a whole lot to talk about in the first half. 6-3 at the half. LA, they were up. But
hold on, wait a minute. I forgot about that. It was 6-3, wasn't it? That game was a nothing burger.
Yeah,
exactly.
Nothing was going on in this game, and not much excitement, and then everything just went crazy in at the fourth quarter there. But to look back, I think Eddie, well, maybe Carolina took a page out of Eddie's book or vice versa. But the biggest thing to this game was Arizona's ability to control Robert Johnson, because Robert Johnson has been a huge reason why LA has gone on this winning streak and turned things around the way that they had. I mean, he's been a monster. This last 3 or 4 games, I think he was the number 1 play of our plays of the week of the past 3 weeks today. And Arizona and Eddie Gage managed to control that. He only had 101 yards, did not see the end zone, and that was huge in why Arizona ended up winning this game.
Remarkable effort out of Arizona, and their lead widens just a bit in the West. The West had a tough week. Sioux Falls got roughed up. We'll talk about Denver got roughed up too. They got roughed up by Baltimore. So, yeah, right now Vegas is making some noise. We'll get to that in a minute. But Arizona seems to be in full control. And then a good week for Vancouver this week, Mike, as the Legion easily cruise over Sioux Falls. And then Portland loses to Vegas. Again, we'll get to that in a moment. But with Los Angeles losing, Vancouver now very much back in the thick of things.
Yeah. Just when you thought it was safe to go back to the Pacific Division, here's Vancouver. They're right back at the top. I mean, LA has a tiebreaker because of the head-to-head right now, but Vancouver is not going anywhere. It's no big surprise that they're there. Tom Pepper had another huge game, and Vancouver, they'll be there at the end. I was just glad to see him, Cam, wear some nice spiffy sharp uniforms. Yeah,
you didn't get a chance to shout him out today,
I did I did shout out Andy behind the scenes. Said, hey man, nice unis, man. Everybody, they were real sharp. I like the stripes and finally some color and some vibrant blue in those uniforms, man. I loved it. We gotta get
a uniform power rankings from Mike St. Green going. We gotta make that a halftime segment here soon.
Yeah, man. I would love that. I'm a uniform guy.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that too. Wouldn't mind releasing some myself, but yes, a big win for Arizona, and now the Pacific is all scrambled. Big headlines across the SFL, Mike, this week as the matchup was finally here. They've been wanting it ever since the schedule came out, ever since Johnny Pickler had announced he was going to London, a free agency for London at the end of free agency, worst kept secret in the world. They were the only team that needed a quarterback. But London hosts Louisiana, Pickler's old team, Reggie Streeter's old team, just on the opposite side. He set league records that still stand today when he was in London, and now he gets to go back there, I believe, for the first time, because I think London went to Louisiana a season or two ago. I believe this is Streeter's first trip back, but I may be wrong on that just offhand. But huge game for a lot of people And this game came down to the wire, and it looked like Pickler had it.
Yeah.
Amazing, almost identical to the Carolina Queen City situation. It was amazing watching it play out in real time because London, like Queen City, drives all the way down, matriculates the ball down the field, scores a winning touchdown with less than a minute to go. You think, man, this is it. We got this. London takes the lead, and then Louisiana has just enough juice at the end to get into field goal range, to send Otis Boudreau out there to kick the game-winning field goal. And Louisiana, who has been dealing with injuries, who have been dealing with Hurricane Ida, who have been dealing with so much stuff, their team owner still without the basic necessities and essentials. And, we hope that things continue to improve down there. But such a critical win for Louisiana that obviously, Mike, seemed much better than last season, but the record had not been reflecting it, and they end up coming away with this win.
Yeah, Cam, this game was truly one of those games that lived up to the hype. I mean, you sometimes will hype a game, and then ends up being a blowout.
It's like week one with London and Atlanta. Yeah.
Yeah. or just a dud one way or the other. And this game just truly, had this back and forth, and no lead was ever safe or felt comfortable. Both these teams started out real great. 10-10 in the first quarter. Teams scored on both of their first two possessions, kind of went into a lull, and the defenses kind of took over for a little bit. London scored late in the first half to take the lead, and but never could really build on that lead after the half. And then Louisiana pretty much took control of the game again, and London obviously needed a huge drive at the end of that game. With under 2 minutes, it looked like Johnny was going to really get a one-up on his old team, and Tommy Utah, the young quarterback, came of age and made a couple of big plays of his own. Reggie Streeter had a huge game today, 151 yards, a couple of touchdowns. I mean, he never had that really dagger type run, but he did have enough big plays to keep the Louisiana offense in like a third and manageable type situations. And it was tough for London to get off the field. And at the end of the day, Tommy Utah, like as I mentioned, made enough plays. I think he went over 300 yards today. And Otis Boudreau 4 field goals, and the main one as time expired to win this very competitive, hard-fought contest.
If you're an SFL fan out there and you're not aware, we track stats of every game, every player, every career. You can visit stats.simulationfl.net or go to simulationfl.net and click stats on the menu to see all of these amazing performances and see who the top players in the league are and all that good stuff. But I say that because, Mike, when you look at this box score, I don't think anybody really had a bad game. Pickler played well. No. Utah played well. Streeter, Merrill, they played well. The defensive lines for both these teams applied, a lot of great pressure. This game was a really great game. Both teams seemed to put their best foot forward. Now, for London, the challenge is their schedule, because London is now 3-4, but 3 of their last 5 games are against either Florida, who's 5-2, or Baltimore, who's 7-0. 2 division leaders, 2 dominant SFL powers historically, and that is now the challenge. Louisiana, they got to catch Atlanta, but they got St. Louis and Tulsa in that division. Nobody's really necessarily pulling ahead. Mm-hmm. It's just a different ball game for London, who's got it much tougher down the stretch.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks have really helped put London behind the 8 ball with these 2 tough losses. Of course, Baltimore's coming up next week, and then I think Carolina's right after that, and of course they just beat Queen City. So.
Oh wow! No, you're right.
Yeah, so it's not going to get any easier to the last 5 games for London. But as you mentioned in this game at hand, no one played bad in this game. Johnny Pickler did himself proud. Yeah. Almost 400 yards in this game, a couple of touchdowns. So yeah, he has nothing to hang his head about in this game. It definitely was not on him. This loss. It was just a game that time ran out on the Knights, and kudos to Louisiana for pulling it out. But nothing to hang his head about. But it's going to be a tough road for London and the playoff hopes moving forward.
Let's check in on the Tex-Mex division, the South Division. They were playing their first divisional games in 6 weeks. They hadn't had one since week 1. And a couple of these teams had not had one at all. And so Houston and Mexico City got together. Lone Star and Fort Worth got together. And what do you know? Both ended in field goals. Now, two different circumstances. Mexico City's Hall of Fame kicker, Cole Varner, kicks his game-winning field goal and makes it. Fort Worth suffers in one of the worst ways you can lose. Their field goal hit the upright, no good, and Lone Star held on to win 23-20. Fort Worth may be the biggest surprise now at 2-5. Everybody was so high on this group, and it just has not come together. And now Houston has lost 4 in a row after they completed or nearly completed what seemed like a tremendous comeback. Dave Burr continues to play outstanding football. Warren Murray looked the best that he has looked this year, but still, it wasn't enough as Mexico City got back to their roots. Where would you like to begin, Mike? The floor is yours.
I'll start in Fort Worth with Lone Star in Fort Worth. And the one guy, Cam, that I really feel the sorriest for is the kicker, Taco Sicario. I mean, he has had a tough go this season. He had an opportunity for a late game winner against London in week 3. He came up short on that field goal attempt that allowed London to come back and kick a field goal of their own and win that game.
Wow.
And then at the game earlier, at hand earlier in this game, he missed another field goal short early in that game in the first half. And I'm sorry, it was in the third quarter, midway through the third, he missed a field goal. And then I obviously had a chance to tie this game, as time expired late in this game, and doinked it off the upright. He definitely had the distance, but he doinked this one. And so my heart goes out to him. I mean, I know that's the kickers. I know to feel like the only job they have is to make kicks and help your team win. So I know that has to be tough on him to miss clutch field goals for his team like that, and especially when it results in a loss.
Yeah, and I mean, it just goes to show you how close these. Yeah. I mean, Fort Worth could be 4-3 easily, and maybe even 5-2. But these games have just been so razor thin all season long, and a team like Fort Worth at 2-5, you cannot sleep on them. A team like DC at 2-5, DC has lost 4 of their 5 games by 8 points or less, and 3 in a row. 3 in a row.
Yeah.
It just and they lost to Atlanta in overtime, and we don't even have time to get there. And that game went to overtime. I mean, that's just how crazy this week was. And you just feel for them. Lone Star seems to be playing a little bit better, finding themselves. The corners had a much better day. Shout out to Bo Martin Jr. and Gunny McGuire, because we've been all over them, but they looked pretty good against Fort Worth. But switching gears to Mexico City, early in that game, they looked shaky, and it was just like, where is the run game? What happened here?
Yeah.
But second half, they found Ray Bentley was running over people. He scored. Phoenix Jones, redemption after his showboating turned into a nightmare at the goal line when he got tackled and wasn't able to add on that touchdown. He's got enough anyway, right, Mike? He gets touchdowns all the time. But Mexico City seemed to find themselves late again as Houston continues to search for theirs. It's another game where you look at the box score and you go, shoot, what's Houston supposed to do? They played a pretty good game.
Yeah, and on Phoenix Jones real quick, I just think he was just being generous. He did not want to have the outright touchdown lead to himself.
He's such a nice guy.
He wanted to keep sharing it with Ezekiel Love for at least another week. But that was I'm pretty sure Phoenix was kind of embarrassed by that. Showboating a little bit ahead of time, but it didn't cost the team. At the end of the day, they did score on the very next play. But Mexico City. And both of these teams came in on a losing streak. Houston had lost 3 in a row and 4 now. Mexico City had lost the last 2, even though it was against tough opponents. I believe it was Florida and Queen City. So they had tough opponents, but uh, at the same time, they didn't look like the same Mexico City. Even like as you mentioned, starting out today, they came out throwing. We're used to be seeing these guys pound the rock, especially with Phoenix, and Phoenix did end up with a solid day today. 140 yards, and I don't believe he got into the end zone because of the antics. But Ray Bentley, we had a Ray Bentley sighting today. He did get in the end zone on a huge touchdown run and a big run, and now Mexico City, they're firmly in control of the South Tex-Mex division. I mean,
But
firmly in control.
but Mexico City, I mean, they had to cut Nate Ritters this week. It was a huge
Yeah,
disappointment.
yeah,
One of their draft picks. They seem to still be trying to find themselves too. And honestly, Mike, this division feels like whichever team figures themselves out first, is going to win it, because
yeah,
they all seem to be searching a little bit. And obviously, Mexico City has the easiest route to play with, because they're up 2
yeah.
games with 5 to go. And so if they continue to struggle with that just a little bit, they have built up that cushion now. But I don't know that this division is totally done with yet. Mexico City has Jacksonville. I think Mexico City may have Baltimore too down the stretch. I think week 10, something like that.
Yeah.
And then they've got a bunch of divisional games. Mexico City, I believe, they either have 2 or 3 divisional games left. So not over just yet. We'll see what ends up happening. I think Fort Worth and Mexico City play twice still. Anyway, we'll have to check it.
I just want to add, Cam, is not over, but definitely no room for error for the teams that are under
Right.
500 at this point.
Right.
No, these guys are going to have to really step it up to catch Mexico City for this automatic playoff bid.
And they don't. Fort Worth plays Mexico City once, but wouldn't rule out an upset there either, just with how close 5-2 and 2-5 is recently. It feels like we started at the end and now we're going to end at the beginning, so to speak. But it feels, Mike, like this game was forever ago. But Vegas pulls the upset on Portland and snaps the fleet 4-game winning streak. Vegas has now won 3 of 4, with their only loss to now the lone unbeaten team in the SFL, Baltimore. And they totally outclassed Portland. This was pretty much in hand of Vegas after about mid-first quarter, after O.J. Bruin threw 3 early interceptions and put Portland behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, and one highlight to this game for me, Cam, was as you just mentioned, O.J. Bruin and Vegas quarterback Joseph Green. These guys were teammates back in Memphis a couple of seasons ago. These guys shared snaps, so I'm pretty sure it was a big rivalry game for these guys to prove which rookie was the best in this game. And OJ came out and really struggled in this game. The first 3 possessions for Portland, 3 interceptions, a couple of them at the time by Max Jackson, and the last 2 possessions of the game, more interceptions from Bruin, and that ended up being Jackson's 3rd of the game. But Las Vegas took control of this game from the very beginning, like I said, with the turnovers. And another key to this game, another huge matchup in this game was the running back matchup. Scott Johnson going against Ezekiel Love. Ezekiel Love, the leading rusher in the league right now. And Scott Johnson has not been the Scott Johnson we saw towards the end of last season. But, man, he really showed up in this game, 156 yards and 4 touchdowns that really set the tone for Vegas. And they took full advantage of everything that defense got for them. And the offense did enough to really put Portland away. I was, I won't say disappointed, may not be the word, but I was looking for a better outing from Portland.
Right.
Like I said, they
didn't meet the moment.
Yeah. They had gone 4 in a row, a huge win last week, and I was really expecting them to build on that, and they just didn't perform, to the way we've been accustomed to seeing them for the past couple of weeks. The defense, typically a ball hawks, turns the ball over. We didn't see that from them yesterday, but kudos to Vegas though. I mean, these guys, they had a few little shakeups with the staff and everything a few weeks ago. And once they made that change, it seems like these guys have come on, as you mentioned, 3 of the last 4. They only lost, disappointing to Baltimore, but who isn't losing the ball to Baltimore
Right.
these days. So, hey, man, Vegas, they've done a great job of getting things turned around over there.
I will say General Manager Nelson Lozano for Portland did lose his father to COVID, passed away this week. And so, hey, Portland's a family. And I know that probably hit the team really hard, and they were playing with heavy hearts this weekend, and that could have affected. It's hard to enjoy the casinos of Vegas when you're dealing with that kind of stuff. So we wish Nelson all the best, and are here for him and anybody else who is suffering right now out there in this world. On that note, Mike, we shift the game balls and try to honor the best from an amazing Week 7. Kick us off.
Well, the first one, Cam, is going to go to, one of the, being a receiver myself, and someone that I'm hoping to, at least I know probably won't catch his records because he'll probably still be playing 20 years from now. But DRCM, I just want to give a shout out to him. One game ball for him. A huge accomplishment to add on to his Hall of Fame career already.
Yes.
Going over 1,000 receptions in this game. He had a touchdown in this game. He had another huge game. I think he was 5 for over 100 and touchdown. I just want to give kudos to him. Game ball out to my hometown friend. He's right. He's right in the city of Houston with me, as well as the owner of Houston. So game ball to DR Sims. Man, congratulations on reaching another milestone in your great career.
1,000 receptions. One of the best to ever do it. Maybe the best to ever do it. DR Sim. That's a nice one. I'm going to stay in that game, and I'm going to go with Gerard Brody. Gerard Brody, the first round pick of this Mexico City team. 16th. He got 2 picks today. And the reason he gets a game ball from me is because it's not like these interceptions were easy. He was out on an island in one-on-one coverage. These are footballs that, Dave Burr shouldn't really be blamed for throwing. He's got a guy one-on-one. You got to go. You got to take the chance and let your guy go up and get it, especially when it's DR Sim and Kyle Finnemore and all these talented guys that Burr has. And Brody made the plays. Brody out-dueled those Houston Hyenas receivers. And honestly, Mike, if he doesn't make those plays, they probably lose this game. So Gerard Brody, the rookie, another rookie in that secondary impressing, gets a game ball for me.
Yeah, that's a great game ball, Cam. And actually going into this season, I really thought that Mexico City secondary was going to struggle a little bit. But, whether it's game planning or at this point of the season, these guys progressing and getting to where they need to be, they've done a great job all season long. I really thought it was going to be, like a shooting gallery, so to speak, for wide receivers taking advantage of these guys. And but they haven't. Gerard Brody and the other couple of rookies over there, they've done a great job, and that's a well-deserved game ball because that secondary's done a great job all season.
It's all about matchups, right, Mike? Like, I wonder, like Mexico City against Baltimore, right? Like, that'd be a terrible matchup because Baltimore's got all these weapons going deep, and then you end up in one-on-one coverages. But, you match up with other teams in the league that just don't have that weaponry, and Mexico City can mask some of that stuff a little bit easier. So it's just going to be interesting to see what they got down the stretch. Back to you, Mike.
As I look for my list, Cam, and I can't find it.
Oh, there it is. Mike.
And there it is. Okay. I knew who it was. I just wanted to make sure I was watching.
Oh, yeah. Whatever. Okay.
But yeah, and everyone knows that I love wide receiver threes, and they don't get enough love in this league. So I'm going with Daly Holder. I mean, because how many wide receiver threes ever get an opportunity to go for 100 yards and a touchdown? I almost went with Mac Chima. I mean, he had a huge game as well, 162 and a touchdown. I mean, but who on Baltimore doesn't go for 100 yards and a touchdown? But yeah, no, taking nothing away from Daly Holder. I mean, that is a great wide receiver core over there, and one part that makes it great is the triple threat of Irving, Chima, and Holder. And Holder held his own again today. 102 yards and a touchdown. So that's my second game ball.
Yeah, that's a good one. And Daly's been in this league from the beginning, and he's an old wily veteran at this point. And Holder, it takes a special kind of person to always be able to take the back seat and trust your coaches. You know, hey, I'm going to be the wide receiver 3 here, but I know that I'm not going to be ignored. I know that I'm going to have a ton of targets every week. They spread the ball around so evenly. So, yeah, good on Daly for that. I'll stay in the wide receiver category, actually, and I will go Harish Prasad on the field and off the field. First off, the touchdown that he scored that put Carolina ahead in that game. They were down 17-13, and then Prasad got this big touchdown. Well, not only did he catch it, but he broke 2 tackles, and he even said in the chat, I finally didn't get tackled. You know, he finally broke those tackles. Prasad made that play, and if Prasad doesn't make that play, Carolina doesn't win that game. And that was such a huge moment, Mike, because remember, we were sitting there, we were on upset watch.
Yeah.
And when he caught that, we said, okay, now it's upset alert, right? It flipped the switch, and I think what it did is it showed Carolina we can actually do this. And it's you know, Carolina's just trying whatever they can to get to the playoffs, to get over the hump, to get to the promised land. And these type of wins are going to help them a lot because now their strength of victory is through the roof.
Yeah.
And if Queen City keeps winning, Carolina's going to be tough to beat in tiebreakers, you know, when you're talking about these 6-6s, 7-5s down the stretch.
Yeah. Harish had a huge game today, and he was a big reason why they won that game today. And kudos go out to them. I mean, we give them a hard time. I know people, you know, gotten to where they got that, you know, Carolina's going to blow it, and we've seen them lose a couple of tough games earlier in this season. But yeah, I was, you know, happy for them to see them pull one out when, you know, it looked like they had, you know, kind of squandered another one. So, you know, great game ball for Harish, and congratulations to Carolina today.
Your last one, Mike.
Well, Cam, actually, I'm going to stay same game, same team. And I'm going to give it to Matt South just because, you know, Harish had to have someone to throw it to him. And Heath McDaniel also had a huge game today for Carolina. Matt South, 394 yards, almost went for 400. He only threw for 1 touchdown, but what he did not do, Cam, was make the big mistake at the wrong time. He did have a couple of picks, but it never really you know, materialized for Queen City to take advantage of. It was not at any huge moments in the game. And so, and he came up big on that final drive with a couple of, you know, big passes. I think Sam Avalos had a big catch today in the game. So, yeah, you know, Matt South really performed well today. You know, he wasn't the reason why the team lost. He definitely did everything he needed to do to get this team over the top and get them that victory.
Yeah, you know, Matt South hasn't played in a lot of big games in a long time, but that may have been his greatest game in the SFL. We'd have to go back into the archives, but in that moment, he really stepped up and played big for them. I agree. And look, you can overthrow that pass late.
Yeah.
You know, you can overthrow that. You can put it off target to where McDaniel Jr. or Prasad cannot continue, you know, their route and cannot continue to get upfield. The pass to Avalos as well down the stretch that ended up being in a blocked field goal, but still, that ball was on the money and allowed them to get extra yards. So big game there. My last one's going to go to Reggie Streeter for winning the battle of former team rivalries. Not only that, but he was hurt last week. So I'm sure he felt like, you know, he let the team down a little bit. And he came back, and he wasn't going to get hurt today. And like you said earlier, he didn't have that, you know, that 70-yard run, but he had plenty of 25-yard runs. And that really helped. I think it kind of slowed London down. London likes to play really fast. They like to just kind of boom, boom, boom down the field and then just say, you're up. And Louisiana just wasn't having that because Reggie Streeter was able to move the chains. They were able to slowly move the ball down the field. I think you said we were off air. There's not any Randy Mosses on this team. Why can't we get a stop? Why can't they cover somebody? And it was just Twin Screw and Robo and Collier and Street, and they were just doing enough. And I think it really bothered London. London's probably antsy on the sideline going, come on, you know, we want to get back out there. And Louisiana wasn't playing that, and that was all due to Streeter.
Well, Cam, I'm angry now. Yeah, you didn't steal it from me, but He was on my list. Now I'm angry because I didn't steal it from you, and I like upsetting you at least once a
Nope.
week. So, but yeah, Streeter was on my list. But yeah, it was a great game from Streeter today. And we forget about that one kind of weird play that he had where we don't know if the umpire or referee was in his way when he
Yeah,
kind of
right.
stutter stepped that, and that could have been his one big 70-yard run if that wouldn't have happened. But yeah, he had, like you said, he had enough big 10, 15-yard runs and kept London off the field and and kept us, kept them off balance. And I don't think maybe just kept the ball out of Johnny's hands just enough to pull this one out, because typically London, they want to be in the 30s. That's the way they want to play, and they kept them under control and kept them in the 20s where they don't really like to be. And all kudos to Louisiana and the game plan that they put together to pull that off.
We've said enough. We've done enough this weekend. I hope everybody had a wonderful Labor Day, and we hope to see you back here on the weekend for Week 8 across Next Level Sports for the fans and the SFL's Twitch channel for more action. Yes, we know the NFL has started. Yes, we know that college football has started. But don't forget about us. We're just a bunch of guys having a good time, having some fun, putting people like you on the field and celebrating you. Not a bunch of athletes who they don't care if your fantasy team wins, Mike. But just letting you know, nobody cares about your fantasy team is what I'm saying. Right?
I could have sworn everyone cared about my fantasy team,
but especially now that you are in a league that I play in, nobody really cares about your team. Enjoy the bottom. All right, for Mike St. Green, I'm Cameron Irvine. This has been a lot of fun, and have a great week, everybody, and we'll see you next weekend.